Welcome to my novel series. I won't delay, let's get to it.
A Novel First Draft. A story by Ariel Sparks. Title: Chronicle of the Seers Orb. Copyright Ariel Sparks 2025. Chapter 2. Mirror of Ages. The next morning, her father, Theodore, prepared for his journey. He packed a small satchel with supplies and checked his compass, ensuring everything was in order. Alara watched him, feeling a mix of admiration for his bravery and dread for what might happen when he was gone. He glanced at her, a reassuring smile playing on his lips. "You stay here and keep an eye on things," he said. "I'll be back soon." The village of Vonderwood was nestled in the crook of a gentle valley, surrounded by rolling hills that grew dense with forest further from the village. The houses were simple, built from the very earth they stood on, with wooden beams and thatched roofs that had seen generations come and go. The cobblestone streets were quiet now, the villagers already busy with their morning chores. Alara knew everyone by name, and they knew her as the girl who always had her nose in a book and dreaming of adventure. Her father was known for his tall, lean build and his unrivaled knowledge of the land. He was the cartographer of Vonderwood, the one who ventured beyond the village's borders to map the terrain and trade with distant settlements. Theodore kissed her forehead gently and picked up his satchel. The orb lay on the kitchen table, glowing softly. He collected it as he left. Theodore's journey took him through fields of golden wheat, swaying in the early morning breeze, like the sails of a flotilla on the high seas. The path grew steeper as he approached the foothills, the scent of pine and earth rising around him. He met a few early rising travelers along the way, traders with pack mules laden with goods and weary-eyed pilgrims heading to the holy city of Elisera. They exchanged nods and brief greetings, all aware of the dangers that could be lurking in the uncharted lands. As the sun reached its zenith, he arrived at the banks of the River Tarn, where the aged ferryman, old Alaric, operated his rickety boat. Alaric was a man of few words, with skin as weathered as the wood of his boat and eyes that had seen more than their fair share of secrets. "Afternoon, Theodore," he called out, his voice gruff yet friendly. "Where to today?" Theodore approached the water's edge, his eyes on the horizon where the ruins were said to be. "Just crossing the river," he replied, keeping his voice casual. Old Alaric studied him, stroking his grizzled beard, and replied, "The ruins, huh? What's so urgent about those old stones?" Theodore shrugged. "Just a rumor I heard. Thought I'd check it out, maybe find something worth mapping." The old ferryman chuckled, a sound like rocks tumbling in a dry riverbed. "Rumors and treasure," he said, winking. "The ruins haven't given up their secrets in 1,000 years, but I won't stand in the way of a man chasing his dreams." The journey across the River Tarn was a tranquil affair, the boat gliding through the water as if the river itself were guiding them. The sun reflected off the river's surface, casting a shimmering path before them. Alaric worked the oars with a practiced ease that spoke of decades spent navigating these waters. Theodore listened to the steady rhythm, his eyes on the horizon where the ruins lay hidden. The river was wide and slow, a testament to the patient hand of time that had carved it. It spoke tales of forgotten empires and lost civilizations, of battles won and lost in its banks, and of the countless souls that had crossed its waters seeking their fortunes. Alaric broke his usual, silent man demeanor, and filled the quiet with a tapestry of words. He spoke of his youth, the adventures he'd had before settling into his life as the ferryman. His voice was a blend of humor and wisdom, sharing proverbs that had been handed down to him from his own father. "A good map," he said, "is worth more than gold in the hands of a lost man." Theodore nodded politely, smiling at the old man's philosophies while keeping his mind on his own quest. The river wound through the countryside, revealing breathtaking vistas around every bend. The water was a deep blue-green, hinting at its depth and the secrets it held beneath the surface. Fish leapt out, chasing after invisible prey, their scales glinting in the sun. The banks were lined with willow trees, their branches dipping lazily into the water, creating shady spots where animals came to drink. The only sound was the gentle splash of the oars and the occasional cry of a distant bird. As they approached a bend, Theodore spotted a small, secluded dock hidden by an overhang of trees. He raised his hand to signal Alaric to stop. "This is where I'll get off," he said with a nod. Alaric's eyebrows furrowed, the oars pausing mid-stroke. "But this isn't the way to the ruins," he said, puzzlement etching into his weathered features. "This path leads to the village of the elders." "Are you sure?" Theodore nodded firmly. "I've got a change of plans," he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. He didn't elaborate, preferring to let the mystery linger between them. The old ferryman squinted at him, his curiosity piqued. "Ah, secrets and whispers," Alaric said, shaking his head. "Well, I'll not pry. But if you're looking for wisdom, you're on the right track, my friend." He steered the boat to the bank, and Theodore stepped out onto the soft earth, his boots sinking slightly into the moist soil. The boatman handed him a rope to tie the boat, and as Theodore secured it, Alaric said, "Remember, Theodore, not all treasures are made of gold and gems. Sometimes, the most precious ones are the stories we carry with us." Theodore thanked Alaric and slipped him a silver coin. "A mighty generous tip," he proclaimed. "I will not delay you any further from your mission." The cartographer nodded. "I'll keep that in mind," he promised. "When can I expect you back this way?" Alaric's gaze followed the river, gauging the time by the sun's descent. "Look for my boat when the sun kisses the tops of those hills," he said, pointing to the distant peaks. "Good man," Theodore replied, "I'll be here, waiting." With that, the old man pushed off from the shore, the boat slipping away as silently as a sigh. The elders' village was unlike anything Theodore had ever seen. The houses here were built high in the branches of ancient oak trees, their wooden walkways connected each home in a manner similar to a spider's web. The air was thick with the scent of herbs and flora, and the sound of gentle chanting reached him on the breeze. The villagers moved with a grace that was almost otherworldly, their eyes sparkling with a knowledge that was both ancient and all-seeing. They wore simple garments woven from the very fibers of the forest, adorned with feathers and beads that sang with every step. As he approached the village square, where a grand tree stood as the heart of the community, he was met by the curious stares of the inhabitants. They spoke to one another in hushed tones, pointing at the orb that now hung around his neck, hidden beneath his shirt. He felt a sudden urge to clutch it protectively, the weight of its power heavy against his chest. A young girl, barely older than Alara, emerged from the shadows of a nearby tree house, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What brings you to the village of the ancients?" Theodore took a moment to compose his thoughts before speaking. "I wish to consult with your elders," his voice resonant with respect. "Do they accept unannounced visitors?" The girl looked up at him. "Ah, the elders. They are like the leaves on the trees, always watching, always listening. But to speak with them, one must be invited." Theodore frowned. "But I have no invitation. Is there no way to request an audience?" The girl's smile grew. "You've already been granted one," she said softly. "The orb around your neck is all the invitation you need." Theodore's hand shot up to the necklace, his eyes widening. "How did you know?" he asked, his grip tightening around the hidden treasure. The girl giggled, her laughter, a tinkling of a bell. "It's not hard to see what the ancients wish to reveal. But if you wish to speak with the elders, you must first prove your worth." Theodore followed her up the winding staircase that spiraled around the grand tree's trunk, his boots echoing on the wooden steps. The villagers they passed offered nods of acknowledgement, some with curious glances at the orb beneath his shirt. They reached a platform high in the branches, where an arched doorway led to a chamber filled with shelves of dusty tomes and scrolls, the scent of parchment and ink thick in the air. The girl knocked 3 times, and a soft voice called out, "Enter." The door creaked open, and Theodore stepped inside. The man before him was tall, with a flowing white beard and eyes that held the wisdom of the ages. His robes were woven from the same materials as the villagers' homes, yet they shimmered with an ethereal quality, as if the very essence of the forest had been captured within. Welcome, stranger, his voice deep and resonant. I am Doldrick, keeper of the archives. What brings you to our sanctum? Theodore swallowed, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on him. I've come to seek the elder's guidance, he replied, his voice steady. I've found something extraordinary. Something that could change everything. Doldrick's gaze sharpened, his eyes piercing into Theodore's soul. The orb, I see it around your neck, though you try to hide it. Show me. Theodore hesitated, then pulled the chain over his head and offered the glowing sphere to the ancient man. Doldrick's eyes widened, his hands trembling as he took it in his gnarled fingers. Ah, the eye of the ancients, he breathed. It has been lost for centuries. How did you come by it? Theodore recounted Alara's tale, her discovery of the orb in the ruins, and the visions it had granted her. As he spoke, Doldrick's expression grew more solemn, the lines in his face deepening. When he finished, the old man handed the orb back with a nod. Your daughter is indeed blessed, he said. But her gift is also a burden. The knowledge contained within this orb is not for the faint of heart. The room grew quiet, the only sound the crackling of the fire in the hearth. You will have to speak with our elder leader, Doldrick said finally. But to do so, you must prove your worth. For the secrets of the ancients are guarded fiercely. Theodore felt his heart quicken. He had not expected a challenge. What must I do? Doldrick's gaze grew contemplative. The trial is simple, he said, but not without peril. You must journey to the heart of the ruins, where the spirit of the ancients dwells. There, you will face a vision that will reveal your true intentions. If your heart is pure, you will be granted an audience with our elder leader, the one who can unlock the orb's full potential. But if your intentions are self-serving, he warned, you will find only despair. Theodore took a deep breath, his hand tightening around the orb's smooth surface. I understand, he said firmly. Alara and I will do whatever it takes to protect Bonder Wood. Doldrick nodded, his eyes speaking much. Then you must undertake the trial of reflections, he announced. You will be taken to the heart of the ruins, where you will gaze into the mirror of ages. The vision it shows you will reveal the true intent of your heart. Theodore felt the weight of the orb pulse against his palm. He knew the stories of the trials the ancients had set for those who sought their knowledge. They were not to be taken lightly. What if the vision shows something I do not wish to face? His voice betraying a hint of doubt. Doldrick's eyes grew solemn. The mirror of ages shows only the truth. You cannot hide from what is in your heart. But fear not, he added, placing a comforting hand on Theodore's shoulder. If your intentions are pure, the trial will be but a step on your path. With a final nod, Doldrick led Theodore out of the archives and down the wooden stairs that spiraled around the tree's mighty trunk. The village grew quieter as they descended, the rush of the wind through the leaves the only sound that accompanied them. The girl who had guided him earlier watched from a branch above, her eyes gleaming with excitement. The path to the ruins was not unlike the one that led to the village, yet it held a solemnity that set it apart. The trees grew closer together, their branches entwined, creating a natural archway that cast the path into shadow. The earth beneath Theodore's boots grew more uneven, the soft moss giving way to jagged stones. He could feel the power of the orb pulsating against his chest with every step he took. Doldrick walked alongside him, his stride sure and steady. The air grew colder, the scent of earth and decay mingling with the pine, hinting at the ancientness of the land they approached. The rock face beside them was etched with intricate carvings, the artwork of a civilization long lost to the sands of time. The images told a story of a world in balance, of harmony between man and nature, and of a power so great it could peer across the vastness of the world. As they reached the base of the hill upon which the ruins lay, Doldrick stopped, his eyes on the shadowy path ahead. Here is where I take my leave, he said softly. The heart of the ruins is a place for one to face their truth alone. Theodore nodded, his heart thumping in his chest. He knew what was at stake, not just for himself, but for Alara and all of Bonder Wood. The girl from the village had told him of the power contained within the orb, and the responsibility that came with it. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, the weight of the orb a constant reminder of the journey ahead. The path grew steeper as it wound its way up the hill, the vegetation thick and overgrown. The only sound was the crunch of his boots on the ancient cobblestones and the distant call of a hawk circling high above. Theodore felt a tingle of anticipation along his spine as the trees parted to reveal the entrance to the heart of the ruins. The archway was massive, carved from a single piece of stone that had stood the test of millennia. Moss clung to the etched figures that lined the arch, their faces a silent testament to the grandeur that once was. The orb at his chest grew warmer, its pulse resonating with the energy of the ancient site. He took a tentative step forward, the air inside the ruins feeling charged, as if it were alive with echoes of the past. The path grew narrower, the shadows dancing on the ancient stones as the trees above leaned in to keep their secrets. Theodore could feel the weight of untold years pressing down upon him, a silent witness to the rise and fall of empires. The air was thick with the scent of earth and decay. He heard the distant echo of water, the faint drip of a hidden spring that had nurtured this place for countless seasons. Finally, the path opened up to a grand hall, its ceiling lost in the gloom above. The hall at the center was circular, its vastness making Theodore feel small as an ant before a towering anthill. The arches of the windows arced high above, casting a dappled light pattern on the floor that danced with the shifting shadows. The walls were lined with benches, worn smooth by the passage of time and the contemplation of countless others who had sought the mirror's wisdom. The mosaic underfoot depicted scenes of creation and destruction, the wheel of fate turning ceaselessly, a reminder of the impermanence of all things. The light grew brighter as he approached, revealing the mirror of ages standing proudly at the center. It was a monolith of reflective crystal, taller than 3 men and as wide as the great oak in Vonderwood Square. The mirror's surface was not flat but rippled, similar to the surface of a still pond, casting distorted reflections of the surrounding room. It was held in place by an intricate metal frame that gleamed with an unnatural luster, despite the dust and decay that surrounded it. The frame was adorned with symbols that spoke of the ancients, reverence for the elements. Earth, water, air, and fire, their power intertwined in an eternal dance. Doldrick's instructions had been clear. To pass the trial of reflections, Theodore must stand before the mirror and recite the ancient incantation. It was a chant that spoke of balance, of the harmony that had once been the essence of the world. The words were foreign to his tongue, yet they resonated within him, echoing through his very bones as if they were a part of him. The incantation was a plea to the spirits of the ancients, a declaration of his intentions and a promise to wield the orb's power with honor. Theodore paused at the edge of the light, the orb's warmth pulsing in sync with his own racing heartbeat. The air in the chamber grew charged with ethereal energy. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the scent of the earth and the engravings of the dead. The incantation grew louder in his mind, each syllable a beat that matched the rhythm of his heart. With a determined stride, he approached the mirror of ages. The crystal surface shimmered with a light that appeared to come from within, its ripples distorting the image of the room around him. He could feel the energy of the ancients, a palpable presence that beckoned him closer. The chant grew from a whisper in his mind to a crescendo in his ears. The words flowed from his lips, ancient syllables that tasted of dust and wisdom. His hand hovered over the smooth crystal, hesitating for just a moment before touching it. The mirror's surface rippled at his touch, the light within it swirling into a vortex that grew to envelop him. The world around him dissolved into a kaleidoscope of color and light, the air vibrating with power. He felt a strange disconnection from his body, as if he were floating in a sea of potential. The chant grew louder, resonating through his very soul, the orb at his neck pulsing in time with the ancient rhythm. The light grew brighter, and he was momentarily blinded, his vision lost in the maelstrom of colors. As his eyes adjusted, he saw them. The faces of his ancestors, stretching back through the annals of time, their eyes locked onto his, their silent gazes filled with hope and expectation. They were a tapestry of humanity's history, each one a thread in the fabric of the world. The room itself was gone, replaced by an infinite expanse of swirling light and shadow. Theodore felt a profound sense of awe and responsibility wash over him as he realized the magnitude of what he held in his hand. This was not just an artifact. It was a gateway to the very essence of the world's past and future. The mirror spoke to him, its voice a harmony of tones that echoed through the vast emptiness. It asked him to lay bare his soul, to reveal his deepest desires and fears. It demanded to know why he sought the ancient knowledge, what he would do with it, and whether he was worthy to carry such a burden. Theodore's mind raced as he tried to formulate an answer that would satisfy the voice within. He thought of Alara, her curiosity and innocence, her eyes shining with the wonder of discovery. He thought of Vonder Wood, the village that had been his home for his entire life, filled with people who trusted him to protect them. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, focusing on the warmth of the orb against his chest. He pictured the fields and forests that surrounded the village, the laughter of children playing, and the quiet dignity of the elders. When he spoke, his voice was clear and unwavering. I seek to protect, to shield those I love from the shadows that threaten them. The atmosphere grew more intense, the light pulsing with each heartbeat. Protection is a noble quest, the mirror replied, but power corrupts, even the purest of hearts. Its voice a symphony of enchanted lands. Theodore felt his resolve harden. I understand, but I will not let fear dictate my path. He said firmly, his eyes never leaving the kaleidoscope of faces. I will wield this knowledge for the greater good, to ensure the harmony of Vonderwood is maintained, as well as the lands beyond. The mirror's glow grew softer, and a gentle warmth enveloped him. The energy surging from the orb painted a vivid tableau in his mind's eye. He saw himself as a boy, knee-high to the grass, watching his friend, Elijah, steal from an old woman's market stall. His heart raced as the scene unfolded, feeling the weight of the stolen fruit in Elijah's pocket, the fear in the woman's eyes, and the guilt that gnawed at his own conscience. Theodore, Elijah urged, his own eyes darting from side to side. Don't tell anyone. It's just a bit of food, she won't miss it. Theodore's stomach twisted as he watched his friend sneak away, the plump apple hidden in his pocket. He knew it was wrong, but his 8-year-old voice remained frozen, unable to call out. The warmth from the orb grew stronger, pulling him deeper into the memory, his heart pounding as if he were reliving it. He saw his mother's face, stern yet filled with love, as she told him about the importance of honesty and the consequences of deceit. What would she think? He whispered to himself, his mind racing. The mirror's energy washed over him like a wave, filling him with a strange mix of regret and resolve. The next moment, the orb's glow grew even more intense, and the scene in the mirror shifted. It was later that day, and he was standing before the old vendor, his chest tight with fear. His hand trembled as he placed another apple, one of his mother's finest, on the counter. The vendor looked up, her eyes wrinkled with age and a hint of suspicion. What's this for, young Theodore? She asked, her voice gruff yet gentle. Theodore took a deep breath, his heart racing. For the one Elijah took, he murmured, his eyes downcast. It wasn't right, and I won't let him get away with it. The vendor's eyes searched his, reading the sincerity etched upon his young face. Her expression softened, and she nodded. You're a good boy, she said. But you must be careful who you trust. Sometimes, the ones closest to us are the ones who lead us astray. Theodore felt the warmth of the orb spread through his body, the pulse of the mirror echoing her words. The scene shifted again, and he watched as Elijah approached him that night, his own face filled with remorse. Theodore, I'm sorry, he said with a murmur. I shouldn't have asked you to lie for me. Can you ever forgive me? Theodore's mind raced as he looked into his friend's eyes, feeling the weight of the day's events pressing down upon him. Elijah, he said, his voice firm, what you did was wrong. But I know you didn't mean to cause harm. We all make mistakes. He paused, then took a step closer. But we must own up to them and make amends. The mirror's glow grew faint, and the light from the orb began to recede. Theodore felt the warmth retreat from his body as the vision of the past disappeared. He took a deep, shaky breath, his eyes snapping open to find himself standing in the quiet room. The mirror had gone silent, and the orb in his hand had dimmed to a gentle glow. He looked down at it, feeling a newfound respect for the ancient artifact. It had tested him, and he had passed. The mirror's final message was etched into his mind. To find the Grand Elder, you must journey to the Whispering Grove, where the trees speak the secrets of the ancients. The orb you hold is but a fragment of a much greater power, one that can unite the lands or tear them apart. Seek her wisdom with an open heart and clear intentions, for she will see the truth within you. Theodore felt the excitement of a new adventure stirring within him, but also a sense of foreboding. He knew the Whispering Grove to be a place of legend, shrouded in mystery and danger. It was said that the unworthy who ventured there never returned. Yet the promise of the orb's secrets and the protection of Vonderwood propelled him forward. As he descended the hill from the ruins, the orb grew heavier in his pocket, almost as if it knew the gravity of the task ahead. The crunch of gravel beneath his boots and the rustle of his cloak were the only sounds to break the stillness of the early evening air. He saw Doldrick's silhouette, a steadfast sentinel at the base of the hill. Theodore approached, his footsteps slowing as he contemplated the revelation from the mirror. He knew he could not keep the orb's secrets from this elder. As he reached Doldrick, the old man's eyes searched his face, seeking answers to the unspoken questions. What did the mirror show you? Doldrick's voice was steady, his gaze unwavering. Theodore took a moment. He recounted the vision of his past, the stolen apple, and the old vendor's wisdom. The elder listened, the lines on his face deepening as the story unfolded. When he finished, Doldrick nodded solemnly. The orb has chosen well, he said. It has shown you the path to the Whispering Grove, where the Grand Elder awaits. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but Theodore felt a surge of excitement. He'd heard tales of the grove, where ancient trees spoke secrets and the very air was alive with magic. He'd never been allowed to venture there, but now he was being called to seek the Grand Elder's counsel. He looked to Doldrick for guidance, and the old man's eyes lit up with the same excitement that Theodore felt. Prepare yourself, Doldrick said, for the path to the grove is not one that forgives the unworthy. Theodore now knew he could not make it back to his village that night. He sent message with a local villager, to meet with the ferryman when the sun kisses the tops of the hills west of the village. Instruct him to inform his family of the delay, and that there is no need for worry. The following morning they set off at dawn, the orb nestled safely in Theodore's pack. The path grew more mysterious with every step, the trees and plants leaning in, as if to hear their conversations. The very air felt charged with energy, and Theodore couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder with every breath he took. The foliage was a vibrant tapestry of greens and golds. The rocks beneath their feet were not cold and lifeless, but warm and pulsating. Doldrick walked with the grace of one who had tread these paths before, his eyes flitting from one curious detail to the next. The grove is not just a place, he murmured. It's alive, a living archive of the world's secrets. His gaze lingering on a particularly talkative bush that waved them on with its leaves. The path grew narrower, the foliage more dense, and the tone grew from a gentle hum to a lively chorus. The rocks shimmering as if they were coated in a fine layer of morning dew that was in fact, the essence of the elemental that suffused the air. The trees loomed above them, their boughs entwined to form a canopy that filtered the sunlight into a dappled mosaic on the forest floor. Each leaf, each blade of grass, intoned the secrets of the ancients as they brushed past. Finally, they reached the cliff's edge, and Theodore's breath caught in his throat. The Whispering Grove lay sprawled out before them, a verdant jewel in the palm of a giant. It was a vast caldera, a bowl-shaped valley carved into the very heart of the mountain by time and the fiery breath of the earth itself. Inside the caldera, a hidden village nestled among the trees, its thatched roofs and winding pathways a testament to the harmony between the people and the land. The grove was a riot of colors, a symphony of life that pulsed with a natural rhythm. The trees grew taller, more majestic than any Theodore had ever seen, their trunks as thick as castle walls, their leaves a kaleidoscope of greens that danced in the breeze. "Welcome to the Whispering Grove," Doldrick said, his voice filled with reverence. "It is more beautiful than any tale could ever capture." Theodore nodded, his eyes wide with awe as he took in the view from the cliff's edge. The sun had just kissed the horizon, casting the valley in a soft, golden light that made the leaves of the ancient trees glitter. Far below lay the hidden village, nestled among the roots of the colossal trunks. Smoke rose from unseen chimneys, curling upwards like ribbons. The trees themselves appeared to be in discussion, their branches swaying in patterns akin to a dance. As they approached the village, two men emerged from the foliage, both tall with broad shoulders, skin the color of the rich, fertile earth, and eyes sharp as eagles. Their expressions were serious, yet not unkind. "Greetings, travelers," one said, his voice deep and resonant. "You carry the scent of the ancients. What brings you to the sanctuary of the Grand Elder?" Theodore stepped forward, the orb's glow subtly pulsing in his pack. "We come in peace, on a quest of great importance. We bear the Seers' orb and seek the wisdom of the Grand Elder. Our village sent us." The men exchanged a knowing look. "The Grand Elder has been expecting you," the other man said, his eyes briefly flickering to the pack. "Follow me." They descended the winding path into the embrace of the grove. The villagers they passed offered nods of respect and curiosity, their eyes lingering on the unmistakable glow of the orb. The path grew more defined, the way more pronounced, until they arrived at the heart of the village. The hall of the Grand Elder stood before them, a mighty tree with a hollowed-out trunk that stretched up to the heavens. Its roots twisted into a sprawling network that served as the foundation for the wooden structure above. Theodore felt a tug at his heart, a strange yearning that resonated with the grove. He looked around at the villagers, their skin a rich tapestry of chocolate browns, as if painted by the earth itself. Their eyes, bright and wise, held stories untold. The women moved with grace, their curves a testament to the bountiful harvests of their lands. Their laughter was the music of the breeze rustling through leaves, while they held a warm and welcoming countenance, despite their foreign appearance. "You must be Theodore," a woman's voice, as sweet as honey, interrupted his thoughts. He turned to see her. Her skin as dark as the soil that bore the village's sustenance, and her eyes a deep brown that spoke of wisdom and the secrets of Earth's energies. She had a gentle smile that softened the sharp angles of her face, and her hair was a wild tapestry of braids, adorned with beads and feathers that danced with each step she took. "The Grand Elder awaits," she said, gesturing to the ancient tree that loomed above them all. Theodore nodded, his heart racing as he and Doldrick approached the stairs. The wooden steps, carved directly into the trunk of the colossal tree, spiraled upwards, akin to a serpent ascending to the heavens. Each step was wide enough for two men to walk abreast, yet they climbed with a solemn single-file procession. The bark beneath their boots was warm and yielding, as if the tree itself was welcoming them into its embrace. "This tree is ancient," Doldrick murmured, his eyes tracing the intricate patterns of the bark as they ascended. "It has seen the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of legends." Theodore nodded, his hand brushing the rough surface of the trunk as they climbed. "Its roots must run deep, to support a village of this size." Doldrick chuckled. "Deeper than you can imagine, I suspect. This is a tree that has seen more than you or I could ever dream of." The steps grew steeper as they ascended. The stairs spiraled tighter and tighter until they reached a small landing. The grand doors stood before them, their surfaces a canvas for the history of the grove's guardians, each knob carved into the likeness of a creature that shaped the very essence of the land. Just as they were about to knock, a voice echoed from within, firm yet soothing. "Enter, young cartographer of Bonder Wood, and Doldrick, esteemed elder of your people," it called out, pronouncing their titles with a reverence that made Theodore's palms sweat. The doors swung open of their own accord, revealing a chamber that was as much a part of the tree as its own branches. The walls were lined with ancient tomes, their pages whispering secrets to the gentle breeze that wove through the space. The floor was a tapestry of polished wood, each one crafting a mosaic of the skilled hands of the grove's artisans.
Thank you for your time and engagement with this story. Please do comment if you can find the time, as your words can help to shape this book's final product for the better. Oh, and subscribe if you have not yet done so. I do hope you will lend your ears again next week for the third chapter of this novel, The Grand Elder Revelations.